streets ain't talking about you, man. If I can't spin a block and find out about you, man, the people ain't about you, man. That's just what it is, you know?
But I got to
talk about it in the streets, man.
Yeah, this one's for the streets first. Stripes like a referee shirt. This one's for the streets first. Tell mama this the rebirth. Say I need church, I talk dirty. But my hands and my feet work. Teamwork, put in pain, but gotta bring it to the streets first, though.
It's your boy Butta, and I'm back with another episode of that Streets First Podcast. Streets First Podcast is powered by On Our Block. Check them out. On Our Block is a financial service platform, y'all. All right, we're trying to help dreamers build wealth from scratch. And what's a great way to do that? You know what I mean? Through Streets First, you know what I mean? So check out onourblock.com when you get a chance, man. I had to pull up Yosemite Park, Greenburgh, New York, and talk to one of the biggest podcasters in financial literacy in the U.S. that there is. Shout out to my guy, Rashad.
What's up, my bro?
Bilal, earn your leisure. What's good, bro?
I'm good, man. How you?
Appreciate you, man. I'm feeling good. I'm happy that I finally got a chance to really sit down and talk with somebody that understands business and try to help others with business. But before we really get into like the conversation, how are you feeling? Like you've had a lot of success very fast, if you ask me, as a brother, going from one step to another. But before we really get into conversation, how are you feeling about everything just in general?
I appreciate it. I feel blessed, to be able to, like you said, achieve success, go to different places, meet people, build a company with my friends. It's definitely a blessing. It's trials and tribulations, ups and downs, but the one word I would describe how I feel is definitely blessed.
When you say blessed, and I know that you brought up your friend, like shout out to Troy Millens, that's the co-founder with your Earn Your Leisure. Can you speak a little bit of just on y'all relationship? Like, I know sometimes it's kind of tough for people to do stuff together with their boy. Like, I really need to put a highlight and expose on, that part about you and your boy. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we grew up together. We knew each other since I was probably 12. He was 14. And we went to high school. We played basketball, did everything together. So we actually have another partner too. His name is Mike.
Oh, okay.
He's behind the scenes. We grew up with him as well.
It's always a silent partner.
That's a fact. So, growing up, we always, did a lot of different stuff together. Then as we became men, we was always interested in business. So we started different businesses. This isn't the first business that we started. Okay. We started a few others. It wasn't successful, but we learned from it. And this was the one that really took off. But, how I always looked at it is like, if we're going to talk every day, we might as well talk about something productive. You know what I'm saying? Like, we used to just talk about rap, talk about sports. We still do, but not all the time, not all day, because we're not making any money from that. That's not really helping us. Like, you know what I mean? So once we started to kind of change the conversation, that changed everything. And then, it's always beneficial when you can do it with other people. Like, you can only go so far yourself. It's like a team. Okay. I don't care how good you are. If you're just one player, you're not going to beat 5 good players. Like, you know what I mean? So working together with people is something that I think is the only way to really be successful, and especially if you could do it with somebody that you know what I mean? Like, I know him, he knows me, we all know each other, and we know what we're strong at, what we're weak at, what's, how we can approach situations. If I need to talk, I might need to be the person to talk to one person. He might be the person who need to talk to one person. Like, so really it's just about kind of just taking the ego out, right? Not having a lot of pride, and having the ability to come together.
What did you kind of like learn that like through sports? Because I know that you grew up playing basketball, you know what I mean? I wanted to get a little bit into that, let people know a little bit more about your background. But did you kind of like learn a lot of that mentality with, teammate thinking from basketball?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you learn a lot through sports. So I learned a lot through sports, from work ethic to having to deal with coaches, to developing relationships with my teammates, to working in a team concept. All that stuff we learned from sports. And then just life in general, like, learning, making mistakes, understanding that sometimes you need other people, counsel for other people, you need other people's advice. you don't know everything. You're not an expert in everything, like, you know what I mean? So that's just comes from, it's definitely sports heavy, but then also, like I said, just kind of navigating through life and just learning from wins and losses.
Let's speak a little bit, like, you guys started with an iPhone and like shotgun mics. You know what I'm saying? Like, building together, you know what I mean, to see, you know, where Earn Your Leisure is at today. You know, you guys are involved in a lot of different things. I'm just curious, like, what has that experience been like for you? Like, can you give me some of like your ups and downs as well throughout the journey though?
Yeah, I mean, it's been a hell of a ride. Like you said, I mean, we didn't really have a plan when we started. It wasn't like we started and was like, okay, this is going to be through the roof. We just started it because we built momentum on social media, and it was just really to service the demand. People was asking if we had a show. So we didn't really have expectations, but the way it kind of took off, from there, we was like, okay, we need to do this. We need to add merch. We need to do events. We need to do this, that, and the third. So, you know, sometimes things just happen so fast, you don't get a chance to really process them in real time. Like, you know, it's like you don't get a chance to really assess things until after the fact.
That's true.
It's been a hell of a ride, man. Like, you know what I mean? Like I said, especially doing what we do as far as financial literacy, business, that was kind of like a curveball. Like, you know what I mean? Like, nobody was really expecting that could be the thing that could really take off. Like, you know, of course we have music forever, our culture. We have sports, entertainment, comedy, stuff like that. But we really came like a whole different lane.
Educating people on business.
Yeah, in a whole different lane. And then we added the entertainment aspect to it and just made it cool, made it hip, made it fun. That's just our regular personality. So it's just, I can't really even say like too many like downsides, honestly. Like, you know, there's been ups and downs, but mostly the downsides is just learning how to navigate personalities. Like, you know, people will disappoint you. You know what I mean? But that's life. Like, you know what I'm saying?
I was about to ask you, like, when I say downside, I mean, what are like some of like the stories that you get with people with their businesses and how they're trying to like learn, you know, from what you guys are trying to like sharpen their skills on? Like, what are kind of like some of the stories you deal with?
I mean, so I think people look at it as kind of like as an encyclopedia at this point in time. Like, you know, they'll literally watch our episode and listen to what the person said, and then that's their blueprint to start their business or to enhance their business. So it's been dope, like, to hear stories, even people that we've interviewed. Like, you know what I mean? Like, we interviewed he has a food truck and a food business out of Baltimore. And this is a kid that grew up in the streets, didn't have any parents, and just kind of figured it out through entrepreneurship, and it really saved his life. Like, you know what I'm saying? Coming from East Baltimore, like, being able to be an entrepreneur not only saved his life, but now he's an inspiration to his whole community, right? So it's like, stories like that always are inspirational, because everybody's not going to be LeBron. Everybody's not going to be Jay-Z, like, you know what I'm saying? But everybody has the talent or the ability to actually start a business, right? And to maybe employ somebody. And you never know, that could really be more beneficial than LeBron James, because it's like, I can't touch LeBron, but the dude that got a barbershop, I know him, and he might be able to mentor another kid and bring him on and be a barber. And
I get that.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like, that's how we really got to look at the picture. So those kind of success stories are always something that I just, like, you know, really hold on to, because there's been a lot from people that have Airbnbs, people that have clothing stores, people that, you know, started doing real estate, people that opened up a daycare center because they heard one of our episodes. And, you know, it's just, if they had the information earlier, then they could have did it, but it wasn't provided or it wasn't digestible. So for us to be that vessel to help educate people and help change people's lives, I think is really humbling for us.
When you look at the name Earn Your Leisure, it's like the things that we do in our leisure time, we could be earning a little more if we educated ourselves a little bit more. Especially when it comes to business and understanding this economy that we're living in. I'm just curious, you have been in some different spaces. I'm talking about the White House, Good Morning America. I mean, I've seen you interviewing like one of the most richest black men in the world. Like, How do you learn from those kind of conversations? Like, how do you pick, I don't want to say people's brain, but how do you kind of like sharpen your skills from being in those spaces and having those kind of conversations?
We learn from everything. So it's like, being able to have a conversation is like a real-time education, really. So a lot of the questions that we ask, I'm asking for myself. Like, I want to know. Like, you know what I mean? So it's like, we ask questions for the audience so the audience can learn, but we also ask questions so we can learn ourselves. So like interviewing Robert Smith, I'm asking him questions because I want to know how he's thinking. I want to know how he would assess a situation that I might currently be thinking about. Or if I'm interviewing somebody and I got a question about stocks, I'm gonna ask them because I might be interested in buying a stock. So I want to know for my own personal self. So just observing people, but then also like the line of questioning is very intentional because like we learn a lot ourselves from having conversations with people, and then based off of that, a lot of times we actually implement it and it helps us grow. So everything is happening in like real time. So that's kind of like our way of educating ourselves as long with the audience as well.
Speaking of real time, you guys are like basketball tournaments. You guys are really, really giving back. I've seen that where we're at, you've redone the whole park. Your new backboards, new paint, everything. Can you speak a little bit on that and what it means to you, like to give back to where you're from, like where you grew up at?
Yeah, I mean, that's like the best feeling, to be able to leave a legacy, really. Like that's what it comes down to, being able to leave a legacy. And like you said, seeing something your whole life and then being able to kind of change it and then being able to actually put your name on it and stuff like that, that's like the best feeling in the world, right? Like that's something that people who don't even know you, like a lot of these kids they never even heard of us before, but they'll be able to benefit from the success that we've been able to accomplish. So that's what it's always been about. I mean, even outside of that, just even employing people, like a lot of people that we employ, we grew up with, helping people, giving people opportunities. I feel like ultimately that's what it's all about, right? Like that's what you're gonna be remembered for. Like it's cool to have nice stuff and to travel and stuff like that, but people are not really gonna remember you for that. They're gonna remember you for what you did and how you impacted other people.
When you look at your whole, as we would say, your bio, your story, I don't ever like to say your come up because there's more to come, you know what I mean? It gets greater later. But if you can speak a little bit on where you came from, you know what I mean? Like, what was like your path? What did Rashad want when he was younger? Like, how did Rashad see himself? And then like, where did that shift come in at to where things started to become business mind?
I was always interested in business and sports.
Okay.
I wanted to be a professional basketball player, like a lot of kids. You know what I mean? Like that's always something. I was like in love with basketball. But I also was always interested in business. Just from a young age, like just watching movies, like I always knew that I wanted to be an entrepreneur. It just was intriguing to me, like, you know what I mean? Like seeing people go out and being able to make money and wear suits and all that, like that was something that I always like aspired to be. So I didn't really know exactly what I was going to do because, like I said, my plan was to play basketball. But once I realized that wasn't going to happen as far as on a professional level, I had to kind of figure some things out. So after I was done with college, I came back home and I started working for an insurance company.
Okay.
I was selling life insurance, and that was like my first step into the financial world. And from there, I became a financial advisor. I did that for 12 years.
Wow.
And when I was doing that, I still wanted to connect with sports.
Okay.
Because my goal was to be like a celebrity financial advisor. I wanted to work with athletes.
That's
I felt
fire.
like I had a commonality. I could relate to them.
Okay.
So I thought that social media was going to be a way for me to grow a following, to become popular enough to start working with athletes. So that's how the social media thing started for me.
Okay.
I started making videos. I started just doing everything, and I started building traction on social media. But the original plan was to work with athletes, be a financial advisor. It wasn't really on the media side. But then as the social media traction started to grow, that's when the demand for a show came in. And then that led to Earn Your Leisure.
So if there was like I would say, I don't want to say a one-liner, but if there were like a couple of like advice tools that you would give up and coming entrepreneurs right now that's trying to like figure out how they want to start their business, what would you, I know they would have to come to like Invest Fest, certain other seminars that you do be having, but I mean, this is why I do these type of interviews. Like, I want to educate our people on a different way, you know what I mean? And I feel like through the journalism of asking you those kind of questions, if you could give a startup kit, you know what I mean, to an entrepreneur on Streets First, what would you tell them on how to look at entrepreneurship?
I think the first thing is you got to pick something that you actually are passionate about.
Okay.
And that's important, because a lot of times people start a business just to make money. And it's like, if you don't really care about it, you're going to quit. Because it's like, 9 times out of 10, it's not going to be successful right out the jump. So to do something for free for a period of time, like, you really got to care about what you're doing, or you really got to be passionate about what you're doing. So that's the first thing I would do, is to really look to see what I'm passionate about. The second thing I would do is to see how I could help people. Like, the more people you can help, the more money you're going to make. So it's like, for us, for instance, we are passionate about financial literacy in business, but we also knew that we could help people by educating, by talking to entrepreneurs, by teaching them. So we're following our passion, but we also have a serviceable business. It's educational, and it can help people as well. And then from there, you got to develop a blueprint of success, right? It doesn't necessarily have to be a business plan, but it got to be something that you write. I'm a big proponent of writing things down. So like, before we started Earn Your Leisure, wrote down a list of things that we needed. We needed to get equipment. We needed to figure out how to upload audio. We needed to have a recording schedule. Like, all these different things. I feel like if you don't have a plan, you're just going to wing it.
Okay.
And that's not a recipe for success. Like, you know what I mean? Then you got to be consistent. That's like the biggest thing. Like, so many people fail because they're not consistent.
If it's one thing that I could talk to you about, is consistency, being that you brought that up. The consistency of being a dad. Can you speak a little bit on how do you teach your son as well a lot of this financial literacy that you're learning, as well as teaching others, but, bringing your son up now through a lot with basketball and being around business and seeing his dad, like, what's kind of like some of your conversations with him?
Yeah, for sure. A lot of it, I try to just lead by demonstration, have them close to me. I feel like a lot of times kids will learn by just what they see.
Okay.
But then I also have conversations with them as well, like talk to him about stocks, talk to him about business. And I don't really try to push him too hard, because I want him to be his own person, and I want him to still enjoy, being a kid. But definitely, especially now, he's starting to understand things more. So a lot of stuff, like, if I do something, I'll explain to him why I did it. Okay. Or I'll explain to him, like, okay, leasing a car versus buying a car. Like, what's the difference between leasing a car? What's the difference between buying a car? Like, what's a credit card, right? How do you use a credit card? What's the dangers of using a credit card? Stuff like that. So he's not at the point right now where he's buying a car, but at least he'll have that seed planted.
That mindset.
So, 5 years, and he is at that point in time. It won't just be like something that he's never heard of before, right? Even real estate, like, like telling him about pros and cons, what to look out for, stuff like that. So I feel like he's getting like a passenger view of it in real time, because he's just watching a lot of stuff that I do.
When you're watching him and he's playing basketball now, and you come into some of the games, like, what's like your mindset with him and trying to help him, see what this basketball, because I ask you these things because I know you really, really is. I used to be with Fat Joe and really see somebody that's really in tune with their team, like GM status. I'm here. Now I'm seeing you in the coach's box up there more. Like, before, you used to be over there letting them know you in the building, you here repping, but now I'm seeing you up there in the coach's box. What's that feeling like for you? You know what I mean? Like, knowing that your son is there watching all of that.
Nah, it's dope. You know, like I always loved basketball my whole life. So for him, I want him to just understand that, you know, whatever you do, it takes a lot of work. And I feel like a lot of kids today don't understand the work ethic aspect of basketball. Like they just play in games, or they'll get like a organized workout with a trainer or stuff like that. There's nothing wrong with that.
Trainers.
It ain't a lot of kids going to the park playing 21 and 3-on-3 and 2-on-2.
So we grew up on 21.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? And working out by themselves. So basketball for me always like taught me life lessons. So that's what the same thing I want to use it for him. Like, you know what I mean? Like I want to teach him life lessons through basketball, right? Like if things don't go your way, you can't just start pouting. You can't just blame the coaches for everything. You can't, like, you gotta have discipline. You gotta take your time. You gotta listen. You gotta work. So I think he's starting to understand that now. But I mean, it's dope just to watch his journey, because, you know, I had him playing since he was like probably 5 years old. So he's been playing basketball his whole life. So now he's starting to kind of come into his own on it. So it's good. It gets to kind of, you know, relive my childhood a little bit.
When you sit here now, and I'm trying to think of how to say this to you, like as you're watching your community kind of like shift and change with the things that you're trying to do with the connections that you have within your community, like what's next for Rashad to bring to his people? I mean, I'm gonna speak a little bit more about your business side before we end, but I really want to highlight and let people know what you see and how you vision what you want to do for, you know, New York, Greensburg. You know what I mean? Like I want them to hear that.
For sure. So we developed financial literacy curriculum.
Okay.
That we have in high school. So we actually debuted that. We piloted that program in the Bronx. We had 12 high schools in the Bronx that we had.
Wow.
The idea for that is to eventually go citywide, New York City, then statewide, all over, and then even countrywide. And that's something that's real big, because I feel like, you know, if we could teach kids early about entrepreneurship, about investing, about credit, about all this stuff that a lot of adults don't know, a lot of adults trying to play catch up.
Okay.
That's a real game changer. So that's a very important part as far as like trying to help the next generation of kids, and something that we put a lot of time into. So that's definitely something that is big. And
that's also shifting the Department of Education thinking too.
Yeah,
wow.
Yeah, sure. Because, you know, it's been the same curriculum for a long time in schools, and it's like, you know, a lot of kids just fall through the cracks, and they go to school, they'll even graduate, but what have they really learned that can actually help them in today's society? So that's what it's about. Like, if you're gonna go to school your whole life, you should pick up life skills that are really beneficial, that could really change your life, that once you hit the ground, like now you like are really equipped to face the world, because the world is changing so much. So that's something that we definitely real passionate about right now.
When you look at Invest Fest, you got 50 Cent headline, you got, I mean, I've seen you just now have so many, like with Steve Harvey. I mean, I could go on and on the different type of people you're able to bring and talk to be able to get them to speak about business in a different way that we can relate to and try to understand how to build wealth. You know what I mean? Whether it's from scratch or just learning how to build wealth. You have all of these different collaborations of how you do them with these different people. Like, can you expose a little bit of that to the people, and what's your vision and how you're trying to help people through Earn Your Leisure, Invest Fest, things of that nature? Yeah,
for sure. I mean, Invest Fest came about because we just wanted to just have a physical experience for people that was similar to like a festival, like a music festival, but centered around business and education. So, you know, Invest Fest is like a one-stop shop. You go there from Friday to Sunday. You can learn everything from credit to real estate to artificial intelligence. You can get inspired, see some of the biggest things, like you said. Network, that's one of the biggest parts of it, right? Like, to be in an environment with 10,000 like-minded people, and everybody's positive, nobody's ice grilling nobody, like, you know what I'm saying?
Key. Like, for real, you creating great spaces.
Yeah, for sure, that's important. So it's like, you know, you never know who you're gonna meet that could change your life. And then there's an opportunity for vendors too. So we got like 400 vendors. Wow. People selling products, people selling services. So, you know, we just wanted to just really create that Black Wall Street feel to it. And that's why we did it in Atlanta, because it's like, you know, for Black business, that's like the Mecca right now.
That's true.
Atlanta, so much happening out there. So yeah, we started it 4 years ago, and we've been blessed to been able to, you know, have a lot of great relationships, have a lot of big names, but more importantly, to just have so many people come together, all being positive, all just trying to progress, learning information, sharing information, networking. It's a beautiful sight to see.
If I give you 2 of my last questions for you, right? Let my people know something about Rashad that they don't know. Like, what is it that you think people should know about Rashad that they don't know?
Man.
Yeah, I catch you off with questions like that, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, this is for y'all to know, something for you to listen to.
I mean, so it's kind of ironic because it's like, you know, we speak for a living and we in front of cameras for a living, but me personally, I'm more of a natural introvert. I really don't like to just, I'm not a super outgoing person, so that might catch some people by surprise because they're like, well, if you talk for a living, they expect you to be like super, but I feel like there's different pockets and different lanes and different opportunities. Like, you know, I feel like if I speak, I want it to be meaningful. I don't want to just speak for no reason. Okay. I don't want to just, you know, run my mouth for no reason. So I feel like in this day and age of social media, everybody has a platform, and that's good, but it's also a negative thing because a lot of people have platforms that don't need platforms.
That's true. That is true.
And it's a lot of negativity. It's a lot of bullshit out there.
A lot of it.
So I feel like for me, you know, I just try to just stay in my lane. Like, you know, we have fun with it, but I don't want to be overly, you know, too mixy in it because you really got to protect your energy.
Got to.
Because you never know, like, you know, everybody got different agendas and different things like that. So before you know it, it could be draining. So I feel like that's something that people, if they watch the show, they might kind of already know that. But Troy more of an outgoing person than me. But definitely. But also, I wanted to say that because I don't want people to get discouraged. A lot of times people might not be an outgoing person and they have limitations. Like, well, you know, I don't want to be a public speaker. I don't want to be in business. Just because you're not a super extroverted person, that doesn't mean that you can't be in front of the camera. You can't speak. Like, you know what I mean? Like, just got to overcome your fears. You know, get out of your comfort zone. That's another thing. Like, people stay in their comfort zone. Like,
a lot.
I don't want to do Instagram. I don't want to do that. But it's like you're limiting yourself by always keeping yourself in whatever you're comfortable in. Like, you step outside your comfort zone, you never know what can happen. So that's something that's definitely real.
For the streets, before we go, what's little tips that you could give people when it comes to finances, whether it's starting to bank early, whether it's, you know, starting to look at your credit score? Like, what are things that we should start educating ourselves a little bit early on to try to, like, change some dynamics in our life to be able to start to build wealth? You know what I mean?
Invest early and often. Even if it's a small amount, every single month, like put $100 away. Whatever you can do, try to invest money every single month, stocks. Keep your expenses low.
Okay. That's
important. Try not to make any large purchases. Try to keep your debt low. If you're starting a business, keep your overhead low, especially when you first starting. That's important. You know, these are just like basic fundamentals, but I feel like a lot of times people fall into problems because they live beyond their means. They're trying to impress other people. They're spending more money than they make. You know, and that's never gonna be a recipe to get rich. You know what I'm saying? So
I hope you hear that.
Yeah, it's a marathon, man. It's a marathon, run your own race, but always keep in mind, like, you know, it's always assets over liabilities. That's our slogan. So make sure that you invest and you saving more money than you spend.
Before we go, if you don't mind me asking, why assets over liabilities? Y'all need to hear this.
That was just a slogan that I just felt was just like perfect to kind of summarize what we had, because, you know, we do have fun. Like, you know what I'm saying? We buy stuff, we go on trips. So we're never trying to pitch ourselves like we're like the perfect person. You might see us in the club, whatever, but our priorities is always gonna be in order. So before we buy a bottle in the club, we're gonna buy 10 times more stock. You know what I'm saying? Like, so
Educating you.
yeah, so, you know, I'm not saying liabilities is a bad thing because we all have, you know, our different things that we like to have fun with, but keep in mind that the assets is most important. Like, stay focused on that. A lot of times we have the liabilities first. That's kind of the culture that we grew up in. Blow money fast, like, you know what I'm saying?
That's true.
Good checkup, like.
That's true.
These messages been put in our brain, so it's like, we don't really think about it. We think we get money, and the first thing we gotta do is spend the money. But for what? Like, 9 times out of 10, what you spent the money on, you're not even gonna remember. It's not even gonna mean anything to you in 10 years or even a year later. Where it's like, okay, if you actually put that money towards something and it grows, and now you can actually have it, you can see it, you can do something with it, and just from this, you could possibly need it at one point in time. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you save your money, one day your money gonna save you.
Make moves that matter.
Facts. That's a fact.
Yo, this was one of them.
Thank you,
I
brother.
appreciate you, man. Yo, we outside, man. Let them know where they can follow you at, Shad.
Earn Your Leisure across all platforms, social media, YouTube, everything. So make sure y'all check us out. And thank you, bro. Like, you know, it's been dope for me. I
Appreciate it.
watched you when I was coming up, like, you know what I mean, street ball legend. So, you know, definitely full circle moment to have this conversation with you, so I appreciate it.
And for me to pull up here, you know what I'm saying? Like, I love knowing that people watched me when I was younger. Now that I'm a little older and I see what people are doing, I'm inspired. And whatever I'm inspired by, like, I want to bring it to light. I want to make sure that people see, like, these are the things that we should be motivated by. You know, for me to sit down and talk with another brother that I'm watching with my own eyes come and try to shift his community, try to shift black brothers and their mindset and what they looking at and how to think about business and how to look at financial and really understand that we have a little more power and we're a little bit more leaders than we think we are. So when I'm truly inspired by that, I come and highlight it, you know what I'm saying? So I'm glad that you're doing what you're doing up here. I see the tournament is a lot of love. You know what I'm saying? I'm looking forward to Invest Fest and everything else that you're doing, man. And thank you. Appreciate you for real, man.
Appreciate you, bro.
Let's continue to build. Streets First. It's your boy Butta on our block.com. Check them out. Let's build.
Yeah, this one's for the streets first. Stripes like a referee shirt. This one's for the streets first. Tell mama this the rebirth.